Hello guys, welcome to the third video of my tutorials, my video game tutorials. Today we're going to be talking about level design, doing something a little bit different for this video. I am going to be doing some of my face, so you guys can see me talking. I thought that'd be kind of a nice way to mix it up. I do thank everybody for your patience with the tutorial videos. I am new to them, so I'm kind of learning the ropes and seeing what works. I do appreciate it. But I did doll myself up, got a new haircut, so let's do this. Now, if you remember this from my other tutorial, I taught you how to make a prototype, which is basically just throwing boxes into an engine and just getting like a rough idea of what you want. But what I didn't teach you was, well, how do you know what to put where? How do you know what to design the room? How do you know where to get started? So I'll show you how I do it, and we'll take a look at my game too that I've been working on for a while now, and we'll do that in comparison to something like Minecraft. Now, I picked Minecraft because Minecraft is very, very, very simple. It's like children can play it, adults can play it. It's very simple and easy to learn. But what we want to figure out is why it's so easy to learn. Like, why is it easier to learn than something like even The Last of Us, which is pretty well designed? That's like one of the strongest video game design is in The Last of Us. So how does it compare? And well, I think the first thing you want to consider is a couple of things. First, Minecraft does not give you a tutorial at all. There's no text tutorial and there's no audio tutorial. When I mean audio tutorial, there's no narrator that says, hey, in order to make an axe, you have to get wood, and you don't have any of that. All that you have is your character, the UI, and then the world. So how do let's take a look at the UI. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hearts and 10 drumsticks, and then you have these slots. And this UI is very simple, but also just teaches you the core mechanics from the get-go. Because you got two mechanics. You got building and you got survival. And how do you know that you're trying to survive? Because there's these 10 meat symbols, which we kind of understand as hunger or survival, and you got 10 hearts, which translates to health, and we know that from just like the history of video gaming that hearts typically mean health, and like food symbols typically mean hunger. And then for building, we have these slots. So if someone's completely new to it, they're just going to start punching the ground or wherever, and then they're going to start punching, and then they're going to realize, oh, it's cracking, so it's kind of breaking. So we get that visual feedback of, oh, this block is like, it's starting to break, and we can start to collect it. But it didn't really work that time. See, like we punched it, and it disappeared, but we didn't get any materials from it, so nothing really happened. So we get that visual feedback of, well, what do I need in order to actually collect supplies? Like, what's different about this block and this block? And you get like the cracks. It's like a visual feedback of that. So like now we have dirt, and you can keep collecting supplies, and you can start punching trees, which is the thing that everybody does. And it's like, okay, so I punched a tree, and now I have these supplies that I don't really understand yet. So I'm like, okay, so I have dirt and I have wood. What does that mean? And I'll put E to get to the inventory, which isn't told to you, but I'm assuming people will just mash the buttons until they got to it. But so E is typically, in most video games, is the interaction key, like to interact with other objects. So I push E, and then I have like something that says crafting. So I have to survive and build. So as a player, I'm like, okay, I guess I have to use that crafting, like the crafting slot. So I would put the wood there, and then now suddenly you have wood, and then from here you would then experiment with different things to figure out, okay, like different type, like you would use these blocks and put them in different orders to figure out like what would be useful. So in order to make like storage, you have to do this, but you wouldn't know that until you took the blocks and were like, so I have all these blocks. What are different ways that I can make stuff? Okay, that makes a stick. Cool, I'm glad I know that. That makes a button. I don't know what button does, but I'm glad I know that now. That does a pressure plate. Don't know what that does, but I'll keep experimenting until I figure out what all this stuff means. So then you would have like the storage or the crafting table. The crafting table. So you have the crafting table. You figured that out as a new player. and then you would put it down. Let me actually do this. I'm gonna put it in my thing, okay? And then you put it down. And now you have this crafting table. You don't know what it really does. You're new to the game. So you go, okay, I guess I'll side click it to see what it does. And now you have more slots. So it's like language, like visual language that's kind of piling onto each other to keep, like, it'll teach you something new and then keeps, like, you know, reassuring you of the thing that you've learned. So from here, you would just continue to experiment. You would continue to, like a new player would continue to do different things to see what they got. And that will just teach you how to play the game. And people would just keep collecting things and keep experimenting until they get to all the items that they want. So it's a trial and error thing. But the game never gives you a tutorial. Or at least it doesn't give you a tutorial in a obvious conscious sense. It is giving you a tutorial through the UI and through you experimenting. Like, it's teaching you the game through your experimentation. But there's not literally words that say, hey, you probably want to craft right now. Like, they don't do that because it doesn't need to. And that's important to keep in mind, you know? So, like, that's kind of like the core of video gaming. I'm going to click this back. Is just, what are your core mechanics? What are you trying to teach the player? What is, like, the basics of your game? And try to teach that to the player as soon as possible, like within the first level or the first 5 minutes of gameplay, to kind of give them the gist of it. That way they're not lost or confused, and that way they don't lose interest. So another thing that we're going to learn is, like, an important thing about Minecraft that everybody learns from Minecraft when they start to learn about it is night. And how night is very different than the day. And you would know that almost immediately. But right now, nothing's really happening. Maybe they made the game easier, but typically, like, things are already shooting me. So we see these, like, monsters over here. So I would walk over here to these zombies and these skeletons. And they're shooting me, and I would immediately get that visual feedback of, oh, they're killing me. I need to do something to stop them from killing me, right? Because that's like, you don't normally want to die in games. So you would think, well, what do I do? I don't know. And then you would keep experimenting to try to avoid these monsters, like, what works? So what you would do, what most people do, is they build a house, because that's what you just think logically. You go, monsters are hurting me, I'm at night, I can't see anything. I guess I should build a shelter, because that's, like, just what you think in a survival base. Like, if you were surviving in the wild, that's what you would think. So, like, well, this is kind of a weird spot to build. I'm kind of in a weird spot in general to do stuff, because it's kind of hard to collect these items, because you need a specific pickaxe to do that. And I just know that because I've played enough Minecraft to know, like, that you need pickaxes for certain things. But if you're new, you would just, like, you know, try out that stuff. So this isn't really a good area to build a house. So you would ideally, like, find, like, an area of dirt or an area where you can easily break things down, and you would make a little house. And you would surround the house that way, and you put light in there and all that. And you would just learn the mechanics of the game by playing the game. You learn them by yourself, and that's ideally what you kind of want to do as a game developer. You don't really, because what I see a lot when I complain about a lot on my channel is people at the beginning going, you should look at that house, I wonder what's in it, and they'll say stuff like that to try to get the player to go over there. But it should just be like, the level design should be good enough to where that's not really happening. So now that I've kind of shown you Minecraft, which is a very basic game, let's go to my game. Alright, now that I've shown you Minecraft, I will show you my game and how my game compares and what I was kind of thinking when I came to design my game. So, there's a lot of core mechanics that my game had that I was trying to establish within the first level or two of the game. So the basics of my game, what it's basically about, is that it's about a girl named Jade, which is this main character right here. I can play it for you guys really fast so you can see the main character. But basically it's about this main character named Jade, who is working at this new company. Well, it's not really a new company, I don't know why I said that. It's a company called The Eye. And it's like a government agency. She's an intern there, right? And while she's interning there, trying to learn the ropes, a series of people go missing as she's put on the case with a few other people on figuring out where those people went. So it's kind of like this, like, kind of spooky mystery game. So in teaching that, there's a few things that I needed to establish to the player so that when it came to the solving the mysteries, I knew what to do. And so the basic mechanics were, and let me show you the character really fast. So this is the main character. This is Jade. She's the enter. So, some of the very basic core mechanics, which most, if not all games have, or maybe some of them don't, I don't know, but most of them have this, is a trigger, which is established with the red box in Adventure Creator. You use Adventure Creator to make my games. So, triggers are just red boxes that you can enter, and on entering something happens, or, there could be different types of triggers, but this was just an on enter trigger, and I'll show you what that is in a second. Another thing we want to establish is hotspots. So what hotspots are is like when you click on them, a series of interactions will come up. A lot of point and click adventures have this. Like if you're in Walking Dead, if you click on a book, you can read the book, something like that. So those are two core mechanics I wanted to teach. It's the use of hotspots and the use of triggers, because you'll encounter those a lot in the game. Another important thing is the phone. So let's focus on those three things for right now, and then we'll go into more like core mechanics that I had. And now I'm focusing, if you haven't noticed already, I've been focusing on formal elements right now, not really the story, because really you need to do the formal elements first and then the story, and then like try to make a nice mix of those. Really good games make a nice mix of those two things. I try to teach you both at the same time. Like Zelda's a great example of that, teaching the story and the core mechanics so that you're really invested in what you're seeing. I actually wanted to show Nintendo games for this tutorial, but you can't really, not really on YouTube. And they're kind of hard to record, unless you have like all this recording stuff, but they're like the prime example of this, like, because they need everyone to be able to play their game, so it has to be as clear as they possibly can be. Alright, so let me show you how we will establish triggers and hotspots. So the first trigger that you will encounter in this game will emulate a sound. So we will walk forward. We have walked through the trigger that you saw beforehand, and a sound has been emulated. It is a phone that is ringing. Okay, this is just to show the player that you have walked through the space. When you walk through the space, something may happen in the scene. Okay, they teach you about triggers. So we have set up a trigger. Now we need to figure out what the trigger is. So as I go closer to the phone, it gets louder. So then I click on the phone to get it to stop, because it's kind of an annoying sound. And when I click on it, I realize, oh hey, my mouse changed, and when I went over the hotspot, and now something else happened. So first sound happened, and now the UI has changed, and that kind of teaches the player like to interact with the space in order to solve the puzzles. Okay, so you get dialogue. I said yes, choose this one for. This has nothing to do, like, this is not the right response. I just picked that from my sister to play the game, so ignore this when you play it. This will be like, the choose this one will be gone. Just ignore it. And now we're talking to a character named Annabelle, so she's being introduced. And so we also get introduced to the idea of dialogue choices, and like different dialogue choices that you pick will cause different reactions from the NPCs. So that is also being taught within the first 5 minutes of the game through this. So she says, okay, see you soon. So in that conversation, I didn't read it out loud, but Annabelle will mention, like, hey, meet me at the eye, because she's, Annabelle is like, not really your boss, but she's going to show you around the eye. She works at the eye, she's going to show you around, and she says, okay, look for the eye. It's a big building. So you might think to yourself, okay, well, what are some ways that I can maybe find this building? So you have this phone right here, which I'm going to try to bring attention to when I put some more elements in, but basically you're going to want to click on this phone, which is actually under construction, because there's a huge issue with the UI that happened. I'm just now remembering this, because the UI was working perfectly fine and something happened and stopped working, so I had to redo it. So it's actually under construction, but basically it's to teach you to get to this phone, because this phone is going to be a main thing that you're going to be using throughout the entire game. So you're actually supposed to click on maps, which is this red button, but it won't work because I haven't fixed that. Yeah, nothing happens. I clicked on, nothing happens. But when the game comes out, when you click on it, you'll get the maps, and then it'll show the eye, and then you'll know where to go. So this is what it teaches, is to use this phone, because the phone is like a main thing that you use. And also so that you can explore and like look at numbers, because the numbers are also important, because you'll get text messages and you need to look at those. So it also teaches that. So let's get, oh thank God, I was like kind of worried that if I click exit, it won't actually exit the UI, because I couldn't remember if I fixed it or not. But it's something with Adventure Card, because I love Adventure Card. I really like it, but their UI system isn't great, and so it's like my UI was acting really weird, and I had to fix it anyway. So now, okay, so we've learned hotspots and triggers as the player, so we know to keep kind of like doing that, like kind of like triggering those things by like walking around the map, exploring. We have been taught that exploring is a good thing, so that is one thing that I have taught. And so now that I know how to use hotspots, I know to click on the door to open the door, because I did that to get the sound to stop. So you get where I'm kind of going, how I'm reinforcing, like I teach you something, then I reinforce the thing that I just taught you. So then another thing that we're going to learn, that again, this is very important, is to talk to all the characters, to try and talk to all the characters. So you'll see this character, he is a pale character in front of like a warm color to kind of bring him out forward so you can kind of see him. And he's the only character on the screen to really emphasize, you need to talk to this guy, because talking to characters is important. So you then talk to him, and you know, you learn more about the world and the story and all that. I'm going to go through it, that with additional spoilers. Oh, that's right, I forgot that I had to actually walk away from him. But, and then that will teach, like, hey, talk to all the characters. So those are my core mechanics. The phone, clicking on hotspots, exploring space. And then, you know, talking to characters is picking different choices. I try to keep my game simple. Those are the main mechanics. That's what I'm trying to reinforce, okay? So that's how I designed the first level, and then second level, and the third level, just to keep reinforcing these ideas. So when you are making your game, think about that. What are your core mechanics? List them out. What are the things you're really trying to teach the player? If it's a shooter, you need to teach them how to shoot in the game without a written tutorial. If it's a point and click adventure, you need to teach them how to do point and click stuff in your game. You don't give your player the player point words, give them the benefit of the doubt and not do it. Act like you have never played a game before, so they understand your game and they don't get confused or lost. So I think that's about it for this video. I don't want to get too advanced because this is like a beginner series, so I think this is good enough for right now, and I'll keep doing videos. If you have any questions, if you want me to cover anything specific, you get specific questions, do leave them in the comments. I might be doing a Q&A video where I just answer questions to help people out, but it does give me a good idea of what new things to cover for the series. So do leave me a comment, and thank you guys. I hope you guys liked this video. It was a little bit different, but I hope you guys liked how different it was. Thank you for showing up to the Gurney Joe show.